Hey everyone, welcome back to Reboot, GameSpot's opinion editorial show. I'm your host, Mike Mahardy, here with Jake Dekker.
What's up? How's it going?
Good. You are in Australia, but we figured we'd still get you on a phone call so we could talk about the last episode we put up and kind of people's thoughts in the comments and whatnot.
Yeah, this was a good episode, which I actually had almost nothing to do with. I was out, and Joey kind of took over and was able to help you with the edits, right?
Yeah, I did the edits myself, and then Joey did like tweaking once we got feedback and everything. So it was a huge help, and appreciate hard work from the GameSpot team. As always, this is one of our off-week episodes, so we want to do some Q&A and address a few comments on the Nintendo I've Missed You, which was episode 14. You mentioned, Jake, many people are pointing out that Bethesda never supported Wii U, so I think my phrasing at the point was Bethesda, Ubisoft, and EA, and all in 2013 announced they weren't supporting the Wii U as much. So Bethesda, never really brought games to the Wii U, per se, but that was the year they kind of flat out said, I think Pete Hines, their head of PR, said, yeah, it's just a hardware thing. We can't develop for something when there's such a huge gap between that and, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and whatnot. That's good people pointed that out. But, so it's good to see that kind of reversed as far as third-party support goes. Obviously, you have Mario plus Rabbids was a great partnership between Ubisoft and Nintendo. You have Mercury Steam did the Metroid Samus Returns, which we also mentioned. And, of course, Bethesda is bringing Doom and Skyrim to the Switch before the end of the year. I believe Skyrim is in November. I don't think Doom has a release date yet. And then Wolfenstein 2 next year. And while I'm sure none of those will be as graphically good-looking as PS4, Xbox One, and especially PC titles, I'm really glad that we'll be able to just, play Doom on a long flight or play Skyrim for, a bite-sized half hour on the way to work on the bus. I don't know, Jake, have you been enjoying your time with the Switch?
I love it. Like you mentioned in the video, I think it is my favorite way to play games. I have a PC. I love my PC. And there's definitely a place for getting those highly graphical games. That is amazing. But there's something just so unbeatable about bringing this little thing with me wherever I go. And the games still look great. Even though it's not a powerhouse, but you look at a game like Mario plus Rabbids game looks gorgeous thanks to art style, and same with Mario Kart 8. That game looks fantastic. I'm super excited for anything that gets announced for that, especially something like Skyrim or Doom. And to be honest, I have a feeling if these do well, I wouldn't be surprised if Bethesda tried to get Fallout 4 on that too. That would be super cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I have to imagine they might try that. Do you think it's too late for them to try to bring Elder Scrolls Online? Does that game have enough support to even justify bringing it to Nintendo's audience?
I doubt it.
Yeah, doesn't seem like the demographic, I guess. Cool, but as always, we have questions from our YouTube comments, and as always, that's the best part of our show. We love doing these off-week episodes, so always be sure to comment, critique our episodes, give us some feedback, whether it's positive or negative, and we are always open to that. And I'll get to the first question right now by Tadej Vig on YouTube. Apologies if I butchered your username. Tadej Vig said, it's getting good games, but after trying it out for several days, he or she loaned it from a coworker, I must say it feels like playing with a cheap plastic toy you used to get for free when purchasing washing gel for clothes. It feels like it's going to break any time. It has cheap plastic controllers, buttons, and analog controls, and it, of course, due to being Nintendo, it's very overpriced, especially the extra components or charging stations. And then they said, I might get Switch when it's heavily, heavily discounted. Until then, no Nintendo games for me.
So there are a couple things in here that kind of stand out. I think the first thing that really stands out is I don't think it feels that cheap. Maybe it's because I played the Wii U and that gamepad felt like a toy. Mm-hmm. That this actually feels like it feels like a really sleek piece of technology. It's got a nice weight to it. It feels well designed, sturdy. I think one thing I will say is that as cool as the Joy-Cons are, they definitely aren't the ideal way to play. I'd much prefer playing on a control, which, as he said later, is kind of overpriced. But to be honest, I kind of disagree with that first thing he said. However, overpriced, that is something I can agree with, especially with all these peripherals.
Yeah, thinking ahead, I have to imagine Doom or Wolfenstein, shooters that kind of require a lot of coordination between both thumbs, will feel great in the tablet form for the Switch, the portable form. I'd probably rather play those on a Pro controller. At that point, I'd probably just rather play them on my PS4, but I hope to be proven wrong. But yeah, I mean, I think it feels great too. Like you said, it has a nice weight to it. For a portable device, it feels awesome. It's just like a tablet with, Nintendo-looking controllers on either side, and they're not the best feeling all the time, but they get the job done. And like I think that's my preferred way to play, like Mario plus Rabbids for sure, Zelda for sure. Like the first party games that are coming to it, first and third party in Mario plus Rabbids, but that's like my preferred way to play them because it just feels so good. And like you said, compared to the Wii U, it's a vast improvement.
Yeah, I mean, even when you look at all of like the 3DSs, like I think 3DSs are built to be very sturdy, right? Because a lot of children are gonna have them, but they still kind of look like toys. And the Switch doesn't look like a toy necessarily to me. It looks like a really cool piece of technology that feels pretty well designed. Like I'm sure there are little things you can nitpick, like the stand on the back is pretty flimsy, but still, like I'm pretty impressed and happy with the design and how it feels in my hand.
Cool. So thank you very much. Today's Vig, again, I apologize for pushing your username. That was on YouTube, and that's the primary place we go for comments, although in the coming weeks we want to definitely focus a lot on going through comments on our GameSpot pages. So we'll be like housing our Reboot episodes in like kind of written articles that'll have text below the actual video. And then, so if you're a regular YouTube user, we'll still be going through those comments, but we'd also love you to come over and check out the videos on GameSpot because we also want to show that crowd some love as well. Jake, do you want to do the next and last question that we found?
Yes, so this is from Red8, and he says, I think we should slow our horses there for a second. There's still a lot of things that aren't great about the Switch, and we are only in the first year. Everyone was praising the Wii U in the beginning. The Switch UI and online service are still pretty lacking, if not to say awful. So let's wait and see if Nintendo is actually listening. Some of their ideas, like the whole headset debacle, makes me think that they didn't really get it fully, that they still don't get it fully. A couple things here that stand out to me, but I'll let you go first.
Right when we first got Switches into the office, the voice chat was huge, especially when Callie Plaggy, one of our editors, she was reviewing Splatoon 2. She's kind of our shooter. She plays a lot of shooters, so she was playing Splatoon 2 and loved the game, but it was just so annoyed, like a lot of people, that she had to go through her phone. And then at that time, I believe if your phone screen turned off, that would mess the chat up. I think they've since fixed that, but still, it's so cumbersome. I mean, like you could use Discord, but for a 2017 console to come out and not have voice chat, it's so weird because they're doing so many other things well that this seems like a huge oversight, especially with games like Splatoon 2 and I'm trying to think of like what other game would try to use that as much. Like that's the one kind of silver lining. It's not many games are on the Switch where I would want voice chat all that much. Maybe Mario Kart if I was just like talking friendly to people. But like I can't imagine them going much longer without figuring out a solution for that.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, especially if they definitely want to cater to those third parties. Because I mean, like, although Doom I play more for single player, and I think a lot of people mostly play that for single player. I mean, if the Switch does as well as people think it will, I'm sure Call of Duty is something that's going to be there, and you're going to need voice chat for Call of Duty. And I mean, obviously we don't know if Call of Duty is going to come to Switch, but I imagine there's going to be games like that you're definitely going to want voice chat for, and it is an issue with Splatoon. But as you're saying, like Mario Kart, I don't really need voice chat for. Like, I don't know.
Super Mario Odyssey is kind of a, like you're not going to need it for that.
Yeah, and like typically on my Switch, I feel like I won't be playing too many multiplayer games. I prefer single player games, especially when I'm on the go. It just makes more sense. But yeah, I mean, I think voice chat is something that really should be sorted out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and one other, a couple of other things. So the online services being pretty lacking, like as far as the chat goes, yeah, and but I mean, the virtual console, I would love for that to come fully over to the Switch. The eShop stuff is there now, and I've downloaded a few things through there, but having virtual console on there to be able to play like this huge abundance of more games, like I feel like they should have figured that out before they released the console, considering how, legendary Nintendo's game portfolio has been over the past couple decades.
Yeah, I have no idea why that's not available yet. I hope it's soon. Like, it needs to be really soon.
Yeah. So those were the questions we picked. Red8, thank you for your YouTube comment. And again, everybody who is regularly watching Reboot or newcomers who might be kind of getting into the series for the first time, these are off-week episodes, and we always go through the YouTube comments, our site comments for sure in the future, and also just tweet at us in general, and we would love to feature you on the show. Jake, before we go, I wanted to ask you one final question since, again, Reboot's mostly my opinion, so I like to give you the chance to speak your mind. Do you agree with me that 2017 seems to be like Nintendo's year?
Yes, I do. I don't think Nintendo necessarily left, and I know a lot of people in the comments said this, like Nintendo's been there this whole time, but I think they were definitely lacking in direction. Because I played a lot of Wii U, mostly because of Mario Kart and Super Smash Bros., which I've played probably 600 hours of Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. And I love that game, but I think what the biggest issue with it is that like everyone loves that game, but no one knew what a Wii U was. Like I was like telling friends about it, like, hey, do you want to play the new Super Smash Bros? Like, oh, is it on Wii? And I'm like, no, it's on Wii U. And they're like, what's that? And it's like, oh, it's like a follow up. Like, can I use my Wiimotes? And I was like, yeah, I guess you can. I don't know. It was just like, it was a very weird time for Nintendo. Like, I think they definitely had some excellent games, but I feel like they just missed out on a lot. They didn't really think a lot of things through, a lot of strategies through, and I think it hurt them. And I think with the Switch, they're definitely trying to turn that around. And one thing that you mentioned in Reboot was that they are listening to their fans a lot more, which I think is super important. Like the Wii U went through the entire life cycle, and we got 2 Zelda remakes, and we got 1 Zelda game, which was at the very end, which also launched with the Switch. Never got a Metroid. Never got a Fire Emblem game on that console. There's just like a lot missing, and I was super bummed, but at the same time, I definitely had fun with it. But yeah, overall, I agree with you. However, I don't think they were necessarily gone. I think they were just hard to find, and they kind of did that to themselves.
Yeah, all in all, like a lot of us around the office are saying, like, Switch is awesome. We like it a lot. There are definitely still some problems with it, but they're on pace to be my like kind of the big 3, and like I'm not into console wars, obviously, like that stuff. I like competition fueling Nintendo, Xbox One, and PS4. I like the competition, pushing them to do cool stuff, but I definitely think Nintendo has given me my most memorable experiences this year. Outside of like on my PC, that's always gonna be my favorite platform, but as a console goes, it's so nice to have a Nintendo platform in my house that I'm constantly using, and it's not just that one thing I use for a game every 2 years. So it's awesome in general. I think we have nothing to be overly negative about. Like the voice chat's a problem for sure. I would love to see Virtual Console sorted out and ready to get more playtime. But yeah, all in all, I think Nintendo is definitely kind of the one who's taken the biggest steps in 2017, and I have nothing but good expectations for Super Mario Odyssey, and hopefully Skyrim is decent on the Switch, so I can just play that on my commutes, and hopefully Doom and not Castlevania, that would be awesome though.
Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
There's so many games to look forward to on it too right now. I was listing a few on Twitter, but there's Fire Emblem Warriors. There's a full-fledged Fire Emblem game, but that won't come out for a while. Metroid Prime 4, obviously. There's going to be like a fully fledged Pokemon game. There's Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Like there's so much to look forward to on this thing.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I have nothing but high hopes for the future. Awesome. Well, Jake, thank you for phoning in from Australia.
Thank you.
As always, we will be back next week with a full-on Reboot episode where we're kind of bouncing around a few different ideas, so we don't want to tease anything too much yet. But as always, in the meantime, hit us up on Twitter at Mahardy or Jacob Deck with 2 Ks. We usually respond to pretty much everyone, and we always welcome criticisms or positive or negative feedback. So in the meantime, hit us up there or on YouTube or on GameSpot.com, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.